The year is 430,000 BC. A cave in what will one day be called Spain. And inside that cave, someone is about to commit the first murder in human history. We know this not because anyone wrote it down. Writing will not exist for another 425,000 years. We know it because of two holes. Two small oval punctures in the front of a human skull found at the bottom of a 14-meter shaft in the Atapuerca cave system in northern Spain. The skull belongs to a young adult, sex undetermined, name unknown, age at death somewhere between late adolescence and early adulthood. The punctures are identical in size and shape. They are positioned in the same spot on the same bone at almost exactly the same angle, and they were made, the forensic analysis confirms, by the same weapon, striking twice. This is not an accident. This is not an animal attack. This is intentional lethal violence, planned, executed, and left in evidence for us to find 430,000 years later. The skull is called Cranium 17. It was recovered from the Cima de los Huesos, the pit of bones, a site that contains the remains of at least 28 individuals, all apparently deposited in the same location over a relatively short period of time. The species is Homo heidelbergensis, a human ancestor that predates both Neanderthals and modern Homo sapiens. The pit of bones may represent the earliest known deliberate disposal of the dead, itself a remarkable finding. But Cranium 17 tells a darker story. Forensic anthropologist Nohemi Sala and her colleagues published their analysis in 2015. Their conclusion was unambiguous. The pattern of the wounds, their location, their angle, and the fact that there are two of them in precisely the same area rules out accident, animal predation, or post-mortem damage. Someone struck this individual in the head, twice, with a pointed object, with enough force to penetrate bone. The victim likely lost consciousness immediately. Death followed. The question the bones cannot answer is, why? This is where the science meets the strange beauty and limitation of forensic prehistory. We can read the wound. We cannot read the motive. But we can reason about it, carefully, probabilistically, using what we know about the circumstances of early human life. Violence between individuals is not unique to humans. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, engage in lethal intergroup violence, coordinated raids in which males from one community kill members of another. But the kind of violence that killed the individual in the pit of bones was different. The wound pattern is consistent with a face-to-face attack, not an ambush from behind, not the chaotic injuries of a group fight. This appears to have been one person killing another in close proximity, looking at them. The range of possibilities is the same range that drives violence today. A dispute over resources, food, territory, a sleeping site, a conflict over status or dominance, a personal grievance, real or imagined, that escalated beyond the point of return, or something we have no framework for, some cause so particular to that moment, and those people that no category we have covers it. What the Atapuerca evidence tells us is that whatever it was human, not in the sense that it was admirable, in the sense that it was ours. The capacity for deliberate lethal violence, the ability to plan harm, to approach another member of your own species, to strike with intent to kill, appears to have been present in hominins for at least 430,000 years. This is uncomfortable, but the archaeology of violence tells a more complicated story than either pessimists or optimists usually want to hear. The pessimist view, that humans are inherently violent, that war and murder are written into our biology, finds some support in the fossil record. Violence appears early. It appears in species that predate us. It shows up across cultures and across time periods with enough regularity to suggest it is not an aberration, but a capacity available to be activated under particular conditions. But the optimist view finds support too. The same archaeological record that documents violence documents its absence. Anthropologist Douglas Fry has argued, controversially but with evidence, that most prehistoric forager societies show relatively low rates of lethal interpersonal violence, that raiding and warfare, as systematic practices, are more strongly associated with the appearance of agriculture and settled property than with the deep human past. The pit of bones is exceptional precisely because it is exceptional. We have hundreds of thousands of hominin fossils. Cases as unambiguous as Cranium 17 are rare. What this suggests is not that prehistoric humans were peaceful by nature. It suggests that violence, like cooperation, like art, like language, is a capacity. Something the human nervous system is capable of, something that gets activated or suppressed depending on circumstances, relationships, and social structures. The same species that left 2 holes in a skull at Atapuerca also deposited 28 bodies in the same pit with apparent care, possibly the earliest evidence of something like grief, something like ritual, something like the idea that the dead matter and deserve something from the living. Both things are true. They were always both things. There is one more detail about Cranium 17 that the researchers note without drawing conclusions. The individual was deposited in the pit of bones along with everyone else. Whatever happened, whatever caused those 2 wounds, the body was not left where it fell. It was brought to the pit. It was placed with the others. We do not know if this means anything. We do not know if the killer and the killed were strangers or intimates, enemies, or members of the same group. We do not know if the killing was followed by remorse or by indifference or by something for which we have no word. But 430,000 years later, the skull is still there, still holding its 2 small wounds, still waiting, in a certain sense, for someone to notice. We noticed.